Ever heard that old military saying, no plan survives contact with the enemy?
Yeah, it really highlights that chaotic nature of warfare.
Yeah.
Where unforeseen challenges,
Yeah,
they pop up faster than a tripwire in the jungle.
absolutely.
But amidst that chaos, great leaders still emerge.
Right.
They don't just react, they get
Yeah.
results.
Yeah. And that's what we're diving deep into today.
ADP 622, Chapter 7,
Okay.
and how you can embody its core competency gets results.
So it's more than just a catchy phrase.
It's about thriving in the face of uncertainty,
Sure.
which, let's be honest, is a pretty good skill to have in
Yeah.
any profession,
Yeah.
but especially in the Army.
Absolutely. Think of ADP 622 as the strategic playbook.
In Chapter 7, that's your go-to guide for turning plans into action and actually leading your team to victory.
No matter the hurdles that inevitably arise.
And you know those hurdles are coming, right? It's almost like General George S. Marshall.
Knew this chapter was coming when he said, the truly great leader overcomes all difficulties in campaigns and battles are nothing but a long series of difficulties to overcome.
That's the crux of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Difficulties are guaranteed overcoming them.
That's what sets leaders apart.
He hit the nail on the head. In fact, Marshall goes on to say, the real leader displays his quality in his triumphs over adversity, however great it may be.
That resilience, that ability to not only weather the storm, but to come out stronger on the other side.
That's the essence of gets results.
Okay, I'm hooked.
So how does ADP 622 break down this gets results idea?
Where do you even begin when the bullets start flying, metaphorically or literally?
Chapter 7 zeroes in on two main areas.
First up is providing direction guidance and priorities.
Think of it as cutting through the fog of war with a clear signal.
Ooh, I like that, cutting through the fog.
So it's about more than just barking orders.
It's about making sure your team truly understands the why behind the what.
Yeah.
Imagine you're in a high-stakes operation. Stress levels are through the roof. Comms are jammed.
And every second counts. As a leader, you've got to be that beacon of clarity
Your team needs to know their role, why it matters.
and how it fits into the bigger mission.
It's like you're not just giving them a map.
You're making sure they understand the terrain, the landmarks, and the ultimate destination.
Exact.
And it goes even deeper than that. It's about delegating tasks in a way that plays to your team's strengths,
Making sure they have the resources they need when they need them. And this is crucial.
anticipating potential roadblocks before they turn into mission-crippling obstacles.
Oh, anticipating challenges before they happen?
That feels almost, psychic.
How do you even begin to do that effectively?
Especially in a field as unpredictable as well, a literal field of combat.
It's not about predicting the future, thankfully.
It's about cultivating a deep understanding.
Of your operating environment, your team's capabilities,
Okay.
and the potential pitfalls based on the mission objectives.
It's like that chess game you never quite finished. Always two steps ahead, thinking about the enemy's next move.
Okay, makes sense.
But you said there were T2 main areas to gets results.
We've covered giving clear directions and anticipating challenges, which is a lot to unpack in itself.
But what's the other half of this leadership equation?
That brings us to assessing, adjusting, and continuing mission.
This is where the rubber meets the road, constantly evaluating how things are going, making necessary adjustments on the fly.
And never losing sight of the objective.
So it's not just a post-mission debrief.
It's an ongoing process.
You're always looking for ways to improve, even in the heat of the moment.
Absolutely.
And a crucial part of this one that often gets overlooked is recognizing achievements.
Both big and small.
Okay.
Did your squad overcome a major obstacle?
Celebrate that win.
Did someone find a more efficient way to set up camp?
Acknowledge it. These small victories build a positive command climate.
Now, you mentioned command climate.
For those of us who might not be familiar with that term,
Could you break down what it means and why it matters in the grand scheme of gets results?
you got it. Think of command climate as the overall atmosphere within your unit.
It's the feeling people get when they come to work every day.
Is it a place where they feel respected, valued, and empowered to contribute?
Or is it a pressure cooker of negativity and micromanagement?
Yikes, I've definitely experienced both.
And trust me, a positive command climate makes all the difference.
When you feel supported and trusted by your leaders, you're willing to go the extra mile.
Take risks and speak up when you see something that can be improved.
Exactly.
A positive command climate isn't just about feeling good.
It's directly tied to mission success.
When you've fostered that environment of trust and open communication, you're far more likely to get those innovative ideas bubbling up from the ranks.
It's about recognizing that every member of the team, regardless of rank,
Has the potential to contribute valuable insights.
So how do you create that kind of environment?
Are there specific phrases or attitudes that, as leaders,
We should avoid to make sure we're not accidentally stifling creativity or even worse.
making our team members hesitant to speak up?
Oh, absolutely. Phrases like, we've always done it this way,
That'll never work. Or even a sarcastic, yeah, that's a great idea.
can be real morale killers.
Yeah, I can see how those would shut down a good idea before it even has a chance to breathe.
It reminds me of this one time.
Actually, you know what? This feels like a good place to transition to something else I found super interesting in Chapter 7.
By all means, lead the way.
This idea of empowering, not micromanaging, reminded me of something crucial from Table 7.1.
Which, by the way, if you're listening and haven't checked it out,
It breaks down the gets results competency into even more detail.
but there's one bullet point that stood out to me. Limits, overspecification, and micromanagement.
It's like they knew exactly what not to do.
It's almost like they've been listening in on some less than stellar leadership moments, right?
But in all seriousness, that bullet point is pure gold. It highlights a trap many leaders fall into.
Especially under pressure. The urge to control every little detail.
It's like that old saying, if you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself.
But in a military context, that's just not realistic.
Or effective is it?
Not at all.
In fact, it can be disastrous. Micromanaging not only undermines your team's confidence, but also prevents them from developing their own leadership skills.
It creates a bottleneck where decisions can't be made quickly.
And trust me, in the field, speed and decisiveness can be the difference between mission success and...
Well, you know,
Right, because when you're bogged down in the minutia,
you lose sight of the bigger picture.
and that's the opposite of what gets results is all about.
Speaking of the bigger picture, there was another point in Table 7.1 that made me think about the strategic aspect of leadership.
Protects the organization from unnecessary taskings and distractions.
So it's not just about managing your team.
It's about managing upwards as well.
Bingo.
A good leader knows when to say no, or at least not yet, to higher-ups.
Especially when those additional tasks would overload the team or detract from the main objective.
It's about being a filter, not a funnel for your unit.
That takes guts, though, right?
I mean, how do you push back against someone with more stripes on their uniform?
Without jeopardizing your own career.
It's a delicate dance, for sure.
But remember, a good leader's ultimate responsibility is to their team and the mission.
It's about framing your pushback in a way that demonstrates your understanding of the bigger picture,
Okay.
your commitment to the overall objectives, and your concern for your team's well-being and their ability to execute effectively.
So it's not just saying no flat out.
It's about providing context and alternative solutions.
Maybe even highlighting how taking on this new task could hinder the progress of the current.
And arguably more critical mission. It's
Right
about
there.
being strategic in your communication, offering solutions, not just problems.
It's like you're not just a leader, you're like a project manager.
A diplomat, a therapist, all rolled into one.
Hey, who said leadership was easy, right?
But seriously, it's about wearing those different hats.
Right.
Sometimes all at once to make sure your team is set up for success.
And that brings us back to that final bullet point from Table 7.1 that really resonated with me.
Continually seeks improvement in operating efficiency, resource conservation, and fiscal responsibility.
We're talking about being good stewards of the resources entrusted to us.
Absolutely. And resources come in all forms.
Personnel, time, equipment, even ammunition.
Right?
You got to make every shot count.
Both literally and figuratively.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
It's about asking those critical questions. Can we achieve the objective with fewer casualties?
Can we streamline this process to save time? Are we using the right equipment for the job?
Or are we going in with a hammer when we need a scalpel?
It's that classic military ingenuity, right?
Doing more with less, adapting, overcoming.
Yeah.
It makes me think of those stories about soldiers in the field modifying their equipment with whatever they could find to make it work better.
Yep.
And that kind of innovation doesn't just happen from the top down.
Right.
It requires empowering those closest to the problem, those on the front lines.
To speak up, share their ideas, and be a part of the solution.
So it all comes full circle, doesn't it?
Fostering that positive command climate.
Yeah.
Empowering your team, encouraging innovation.
It's all interconnected, all essential for truly getting results.
100%.
And remember, this gets results mindset.
It's not just for when you're leading a mission or calling the shots.
Right.
It's a framework for how you approach everything in the Army.
From training exercises to community outreach to, dare I say, even paperwork.
Wait, hold on. You're saying ADP 622 can help me conquer my inbox?
No, that's a deep dive I'm here for.
Maybe that's a chapter for another time.
But seriously, think about it. Clear communication, efficient processes, anticipating challenges.
Those principles apply everywhere.
Okay, you've given me a lot to think about today.
As we wrap up our deep dive into ADP 622, Chapter 7,
Is there one final thought, a nugget of wisdom,
that you'd like to leave our listeners with?
something to ponder as they continue their own leadership journeys?
Here's the thing about gets results.
It's not some mystical quality that only a select few are born with.
It's a set of skills habits and a mindset that anyone, regardless of rank or experience, can cultivate.
It's about taking ownership, being accountable, and never settling for good enough when you know you can strive for excellence,
It's about stepping up, taking charge, and making things happen.
even when the odds are stacked against you.
And you know what? Sometimes, especially in the Army, that's exactly what it takes.
Well said.
And remember, you're standing on the shoulders of giants
The Army has a long and storied history of leaders who embodied these principles.
who faced down incredible adversity and achieved the seemingly impossible.
You are now part of that legacy.
So to every soldier listening, whether you're leading a fire team or commanding a battalion,
Remember the principles we have discussed today?
think back to a time when you had to overcome significant obstacles to achieve a mission.
How could this chapter have helped you then? What can you as a leader?
Start doing differently tomorrow based on what we've talked about today.
Keep those questions in mind. Keep exploring ADP 622.
And keep leading with courage, conviction, and an unwavering commitment to mission success.